All right, Benjamin. So right now we're going to take a look at your backstroke and see what improvements we could be doing here. So let's take a look right here. For the video, we'll turn this volume off. Um, this is a good angle right here. And again, just like in your freestyle, looks like you have a very, very good initial catch position where you're creating a 90-degree catch. Um, Maybe not directly. I think you could, there's a little bit of room where you can initiate that catch a little bit stronger. You certainly have it in the end of the phase. So when you actually get to the push phase, you do a good job actually being in that position, but um, not actually when you reach. Um, so this is a little bit too late. You could be in that catch position earlier, so your high elbow catch could start probably around this point. We need to see a different angle for that, but looks like that's the case. Same thing here. You could be really pressing on this arm, already going to the high elbow catch. But I think overall, you have really good dynamic in your stroke, great acceleration on the end of the pulls. Look on both sides. You can see the stroke finishing quick and giving you enough push. I think that's very important. Let's take a look here in slow motion. That's a good press on the other side. Looks like this hand pulls a little too deep. It's almost a way down. Let's pause it here. Um, Looks like on this side of the rotation, that's a good 90-degree catch again, but you're pressing your body away so the hand is almost too far down and kind of slips right through. What you want to do is you want to push the hand this forward towards the direction of the hip, and that will create kind of the maximum possibility for speed. Instead, yours is pulling kind of down, and maybe it's the fact that you're again trying to balance out your technique. So very much possible, but let's take a look at a different angle. So this is probably the best view to see anything that's happening with backstroke, because obviously the number one goal in backstroke is to be in a straight line, to be as flat as possible to minimize resistance, and it looks like you're doing that. So your stability is pretty good on backstroke. It's a great start. There's a perfect line, and you're within it. So I guess there you go. On this pull, you're rotating a little bit out, but there's nothing wrong with hip movement and hip rotation. That's actually helpful. But everything you're doing is actually moving in that um, kind of in that within that line, within that criteria. Let's take a look at your kick. Kick is a little bit down from the knees, but again, if you have enough power, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, I know some of the top backstrokers do that, but you're going to have to be very, very strong to sustain that. If you're a pulling backstroker, right, if you're not using your legs as much, you definitely want to minimize resistance from the kick. I always recommend creating a kick from the hips, kind of like you would with a dolphin kick, and minimizing the kicking motion from bending your knees. I think that would be really helpful and essential for you. That way you can pull more of your body through. Let's take a look at your pulling stroke here, and this is what I was talking about. Um, it looks like you're finishing up completely down and then sweeping up. So what you want to do is actually press down in a snapping motion, and that will create kind of um, uh, the effect of you pushing towards the hip, because it looks like your 90-degree angle broke over here, and then you're just finishing up with a straight arm. So that's a mistake, obviously, and I'm sure you can see that the other arm looks like it's doing the right thing. And again, let's see if this repeats itself. Pulling all the way through. Here comes the arm, and again, it's straight. So it looks like from this angle, it's very, very evident that you're not getting enough propulsion on that left side. So you want to make sure you do that, and that's another thing you can address. Here we sped up a little bit. You swim at a faster speed, and looks like again, it's hard to see. This video skipped a little bit here, but let's see what happens here on the left side. Uh, Good catch. Arms a little bit straight early on. Anytime you create this bubble here, it's actually good to see at a fast speed. The bubble means you're ripping through the water. So you want to be kind of smooth, and when you enter, think about creating, it's almost no bubble, so you got to think about soft entry. Entering clean, right, from pinky down, looks like it's all good here. setting up a good catch. And again, slipping a little bit through that arm, you're basically starting the straight arm position and look at the direction of your arm stroke. It's kind of going around and down instead of setting up a high elbow catch from this direction. That's what obviously would be the goal here in this case. So at faster speed, you tend to compensate with a little bit more straight arm initial catch, and that's something that can be fixed as well for sure. Let's see from this angle. Here you can see that you're accelerating really well in the end of the stroke, and actually look at this arm. You're pressing through. There's a 90-degree angle. That's perfect, and the finish into the hip. That's great. That's faster speed. Again, you're maintaining a really good straight line. Let's see what your stroke pattern is right here at the top. It looks like the arm is pulling away kind of wide um, early on. So right here, when you enter, you want to start making that high elbow catch earlier. The earlier you do it, the more water you'll be pulling backwards versus down and trying to get yourself out of the water. Let's watch some technique on backstroke, and I'm sure you've probably seen some of those, but this is Ryan Murphy, and we can analyze the things that he does really well. One of the things and advantages of Ryan Murphy is he's very powerful. He's a very strong swimmer, so he uses a lot of his legs, but look at the kick itself. The left leg is almost completely straight when he's kicking. Um, this is a little quick there, but this is obviously at 100 pace, and he just it's almost like looks like he's flicking his toes, right? It's just flicking his toes, so really minimizing the kick. You can also see right there, I believe that's Ryosuke Irie. He's an Olympic bronze medalist. I'm sorry, in the 200 backstroke, but it's almost hyperextension at the knees, and they're just nice and smooth, small kick. There's not much happening at the knees for those guys. See what's happening with the catch here. So here comes Ryan. He's catching, high elbow catch right away. So as soon as he enters, look at this. He enters right here. Let's go frame by frame. The first thing that happens is he initiates that catch. It's soft. There's no bubbles on the wrist, on the hand. He's pulling a lot of water. Kind of right here through this spot, he sort of dragged it out a little bit and created drag. But look where the arm finishes. Everything's finishing directly at the hip, right? There's no, and if it does finish early, it goes through that phase really fast. So let's take a look here, pulling through. Oops, just go back a little bit, a couple frames. See what spot. So we're gonna pull through all the way, finish. So you can see a little bit of his wrist, and then he finishes down and all the way through recovery. Same thing here. You can see on the opposite side. This is from the bottom angle. Look where the hand finishes. Down and forward. It's actually the distance right there is not too far. This is deceiving angle. I'd have to take it around, but um, this would be the way to look at it. So you can see where his arm actually finishes. Down, and the same thing on the opposite side. He rotates a lot more to this side, so he uses this arm to set up the opposite arm catch. Pulls it around, forward, same thing here. As soon as this arm enters, boom, high elbow catch. Out and in right there. Perfect. So looking at that power. So essentially what you're trying to do is you're trying to minimize drag from your kick and create more power from your high elbow catch. Head position is very stable. Those guys don't move at all. Actually, again, we'll look at the Japanese swimmer here. He's really, really good. Talking about very efficient swimming. There's no movement at all. The kick is just kind of stable, um, very directional, and great accelerations on each stroke. Let's go back to your technique for a moment. Okay, so after we studied that, let's take a look. Again, maybe going away here a little bit on this hand, and you have a similar, if you look at from the Ryan Murphy angle, that's actually a very similar position there, maybe a little bit deeper than he is on this rotational side, and then again, you're pulling with a straight arm. So remember that this extension, that training will require a lot of flexibility to be able to rotate far enough and create a high elbow position. Let's see again, and again, this finishes down all the way down as well. Um, you don't want to be finishing that far deep. I think it's more of you got to push back towards your hip. So this would be, I guess the natural flow of the pool would be in this direction towards the end of the pool. So you want to be finishing kind of down, but facing to the opposite side of the pool. Let's look here. And on the outside, you can see how much of an outsweep it happens on the left side, how long the arm is straight, and you want to obviously bend it, create a elbow push. And the same thing here on this side. You almost want to rotate a little bit more, uh, rotate all the way around, create a high elbow catch, and go all the way. Press. But again, I really like your stability. That's something that's one of your strengths, and you can really work around it. Look what happens when you create those extra motions underwater with your wrist. This is another thing you want to do is you want to hold this wrist very firm underwater, like a paddle almost. See right now you're creating a catch. Look where your wrist goes. It kind of opens up all the way through. Then you try to finish. From this angle, looks like a really good pool, right? But we saw it underwater that it actually goes fairly deep and it's a straight arm for too long. So you want to be able to finish a little bit sooner. A great rotation, great body line, no crossover looks like at the top, right? The hand enters, maybe slightly over the middle, but I see that it's not really a mistake. I see it a lot in backstrokers too. Um, but it doesn't look like you ever crossed the middle line, so which is a good thing. Let's revert back from the head to the headline. Yeah, you're right on it on the left-hand side where you enter, and on the right-hand side, entering right around it. So again, minimize that. You do have a little bit of movement here on the second look as you're rotating, but like I mentioned to you before, I don't know if it's a critical thing because I like the rotation in your stroke. Let's try to eliminate those bending of the knees. That's definitely going to help you minimizing resistance. Look, you're almost at a 90-degree angle from your kick. That's too much resistance, and then essentially you actually let your knee out, and then you kick forward. So this is a good amount of resistance that you want to avoid for sure. And last but not least, watch out for that straight arm finish. That's too long with a straight arm, and I can't see it being beneficial and healthy for your shoulders either, or for your elbows. So try to eliminate those, and I think you're going to be on good track. Keep working on a beautiful body line. That's essentially the key in backstroke. Always think about minimizing resistance and producing more power. Well, Benjamin, I hope this was helpful. Definitely go back and review your strokes, watch the video, and come back and use the endless pool again.